The grand old theatre stood at the heart of the city, its towering walls echoing with the whispers of 1,000 performances. But tonight, the stage was silent, and the air was thick with tension. Detective Arthur Lane adjusted his hat and stepped inside, his sharp eyes scanning the dimly lit hall. He had been called to investigate a murder, a crime as mysterious as the shadows that danced on the walls. The victim was Victor Holloway, the famous conductor of the Symphony Orchestra. His body had been found in his dressing room, slumped over his desk. A single gunshot to the heart had ended his life. The room was in disarray, sheet music scattered across the floor, and a broken violin lay near the door. But what caught Arthur's attention was the strange symbol drawn in red on the mirror, a perfect treble clef. "Who found the body?" Arthur asked, turning to the theatre manager, a nervous man named Mr. Grayson. "It was Clara, the lead violinist," Grayson replied, wiping sweat from his brow. "She came to discuss the evening's performance and found him like this." Arthur nodded and made his way to the stage, where the orchestra members had gathered. Clara sat in the corner, her face pale and her hands trembling. She was a young woman with piercing green eyes, but tonight, those eyes were filled with fear. "Miss Clara," Arthur began gently, "can you tell me what happened?" Clara took a deep breath. "I came to see Victor before the show. He had been acting strange lately, paranoid even. He kept saying someone was watching him, that he wasn't safe. When I entered his room, I found him like that." Arthur's brow furrowed. Did he mention anyone in particular? Anyone who might have wanted to harm him? Clara hesitated, then whispered, "There was one person. His former protégé, Daniel Blackwood. Victor accused him of stealing his compositions. They had a terrible fight last week, and Daniel stormed out, vowing revenge." Arthur made a mental note and continued his investigation. He examined the dressing room again, this time noticing a small crumpled piece of paper in the wastebasket. It was a note, written in hurried handwriting, "The shadows will sing tonight." As the night wore on, Arthur interviewed the other orchestra members. Each had their own theory, but one name kept coming up: Daniel Blackwood. Arthur decided to pay him a visit. Daniel lived in a small apartment on the outskirts of the city. When Arthur arrived, he found the young man pacing nervously. His eyes widened when he saw the detective. "I didn't do it," Daniel blurted out before Arthur could even speak. "I may have argued with Victor, but I would never kill him." Arthur studied him carefully. "Then why did you threaten him?" Daniel sighed. "I was angry. He accused me of stealing his work, but it was a lie. I just wanted to prove myself, to show him I was better." Arthur wasn't convinced, but he had no evidence to arrest Daniel. As he left the apartment, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Back at the theatre, Arthur decided to revisit the dressing room. This time, he noticed something he had missed before: a small hidden compartment in the desk. Inside was a stack of letters, all addressed to Victor. They were filled with threats, each one signed with the same treble clef symbol. Arthur's heart raced as he realized the truth. The killer wasn't Daniel, it was someone much closer to Victor. Someone who had been hiding in plain sight. He rushed back to the stage, where the orchestra was rehearsing. Clara stood at the center, her violin in hand. Arthur approached her slowly, his eyes locked on hers. "It was you, wasn't it?" he said quietly. Clara's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." Arthur held up the letters. "These threats, they were written by you. You wanted Victor's position, didn't you? You killed him to take his place." For a moment, Clara said nothing. Then, a cold smile spread across her face. "He was holding me back," she said, her voice icy. "I deserved to be the conductor, not him. And now, I am." Before Arthur could react, Clara raised her violin and swung it at him. He dodged just in time, and the instrument shattered against the wall. The sound echoed through the theatre like a final, haunting note. In the end, Clara was arrested, and the mystery of the Symphony of Shadows was solved. But as Arthur left the theater, he couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The shadows still lingered, and he knew that in a city filled with secrets, another mystery was always waiting to unfold.